As we all know, our current Illinois Attorney General is Lisa Madigan, and this race now here is basically between 8 candidates. And let me just introduce you to who they are. First, there's State Representative Scott Drury. Scott Drury was also one of the candidates running for governor, but he dropped out of that race. Second one is Sharon Fairly. Now, we did an interview with her. You could check that out on our YouTube page as well. Aaron Goldstein, same thing. We interviewed him. Renato Matori, we interviewed. Oh, no, we did not interview him. Then there's State Senator Kamal Roll. Then Nancy Ruddering, Jesse Ruiz, we interviewed him. And also former governor Pat
Jesse
Quinn.
Ruiz.
Jesse Ruiz, thank you. Jesse Ruiz. And then we also interviewed former governor Pat Quinn. So you could check out some of our interviews that we did. But let's get started really talking about the race for Illinois Attorney General. As we all know, basically they're the ones who help enforce the laws and hold accountability here in our state. And all of them across the board were really talking about progressive issues as well as basically protecting the state of Illinois from the Trump administration. I mean, it's a common thing we've heard from a lot of Democrats, basically standing up to Trump, but also standing up to corruption and trying to bring in change. Because as we all know, the Democrats across the board are right now struggling to really get their message out. And there are some progressives who are really, pushing forward for the issue. But let's talk about the 8 candidates and the race that happened. Or at least the forum that happened at the Irish American Heritage Center. So, Daniel, first let's get your thoughts.
So, I think to build on your point, it was really amazing. I don't think anyone 4 years ago would ever imagine those kind of questions and those kind of answers that we heard at that debate.
Yeah, and we'll go in more detail about those questions.
It was questions like Kit said. It was very much. It's almost like someone that worked on the Bernie campaign wrote them, and everyone that was up there was like, yeah, I agree with those questions, and here's what I would do about them. Some had bigger strengths than others, but I would have never 4 years ago ever imagined a debate to occur like this with those kind of questions, with that kind of tone, with that kind of attitude. I mean, that stuff would have been, we know Obama shunned questions like those, and everyone was happily answering them. So we had a large amount of groups that were there. Again, we live streamed that. I was very taken aback by how progressive everything sounded, and that seems to be. Again, we hear it everywhere, and I hear it enough times. I still don't quite believe it, but it feels like the cultural battle of what is the priority is continually pushing towards progressives and the progressive issues.
And now let me actually paint to everyone who's watching us on our live stream or listening to us online. Let me just talk about this one question that was kind of brought up that kind of took me aback, and really how all the candidates really answered this question. It was about states' rights. Now, last episode, we talked about how Jeff Sessions is intensifying his war on drugs and is also calling for more resistance towards cannabis and basically want to enforce it, force more strict laws against it. And as we all know, we've covered it in the past, how Illinois is kind of close to basically getting it legalized here in our state, like with Senate Bill 316 and House Bill 2353. And one of the questions brought up was, if cannabis is legalized here in the state of Illinois, where do all the candidates stand in regards to protecting our state right to have it legalized, protecting the small businesses or large businesses that would be established once it is legalized here in our state, and also protecting people from being arrested from federal law, because Jeff Sessions did say that federal law would supersede over all the states who already voted for it, be it legalized or for medical use only. And across the board, all the candidates said, we are going to protect our state right and stand up against Jeff Sessions. And they were going basically on how what types of the law, especially here in the state of Illinois, on how we can protect ourselves and how they are the best candidate to really protect ourselves from our state from Jeff Sessions and his mad crusade against the green plant that does more good than harm. So I know that you guys want to talk about that because, listen, we're for the legalization of cannabis. It's a state right issue, but also brings the bigger picture of states' rights, because if it's cannabis they're going to go over, what other state rights are they going to go after? And for a long time, Republicans have said that they're for states' rights, and it was refreshing to see Democrats talk about protecting our state right to have the legalization and decriminalization of cannabis in our state.
Remember, Republicans love states' rights unless they control the federal government. Remember that it's just conditional based on who has power. I mean, it's true for both sides. The Republicans specifically in Congress, in leadership, their track record's been, again, like I've always said, they're a lot more maneuverable. They act smarter. They act more forcefully, and they act. Whereas Democrats like to roll over and fold. In general, but in this case, there were a few people that did sound like fighters that were up on that stage.
Yeah, I will say this: Aaron Goldstein was one of those guys who was really basically quoting more sounding like Bernie Sanders. I believe he had some relation or helped out the Bernie Sanders campaigns, or is that somebody else?
I can't recall.
All right, we'll have to check it out again on the live stream. But there was a lot of people quoting Bernie Sanders and his campaign for legalization of cannabis, but also addressing another issue. And it's something we've talked a lot about on Hard Lens Media, money in politics and how it plays a large influence, especially in our state. Illinois has a long, sad history of corruption. It's not just Democrats, it's Republicans. It's everyone across the board, whether they sit on a county board, whether they're a mayor, whether they're a state senator, or a state house representative, or even a governor.
Or an assessor.
Yeah, or an assessor.
Yeah.
Money in politics plays a role, and there's been a lack of accountability and transparency here in Illinois. And each of these candidates were really talking about how they're going to bring in accountability into our state.
Well, yeah, I know that Massachusetts was the very first one to jump off the hill. When they came down with this, Jeff Sessions decided to come down with, this whatever kind of war he's after marijuana. So it's like it's a certain things that you already have a state saying that we're not going to do that. I'm pretty sure that California is going to go the same thing. I'm pretty sure Colorado is not going to start arresting people just for,
the Colorado conservatives and Republicans were first against cannabis, but then they realized started making money.
So they're like, this makes money.
But see, Daniel, this is what I'm trying to point out to you, though. It's not, like you said, it's not just a Republican or Democrat. It's not. It's got to do about who's going to control the money, but who's going to control the permits, who's going to give out the licensing, who's going to handle this office, who's going to have this. So it's a DMV system being born from the beginning, because we didn't see the DMV system being born. We see it. If we see this marijuana system here in Illinois being born, we're gonna see how this politics is gonna play. I mean, we can see that it doesn't matter whether you voted for Trump or not. It's got to do about your vote on whatever permit board or whatever association of marijuana. Because I'm pretty sure there's going to be one. It's not going to just be like, oh, you want to grow weed? Go ahead. I think
it's going to be like, you want to grow weed? We need a $5 million deposit.
Right.
$7 million.
And see again,
$45 million.
Again, that goes into money in politics, and where all the candidates, especially who are running for Illinois Attorney General, where are they going to stand?
Yeah.
Not only against standing up against Jeff Sessions, but where are they going to stand in regards to the law and who's going to really,
That's true.
benefit the most here in the state of Illinois, and which one of these 8 Democratic challengers for the seat, because there's also going to be some Republican challengers as well, and possibly independent challengers who are going to, where are they going to stand on protecting states' rights, but also addressing the corruption here in Illinois. And all of them were saying across the board that there's been a true laak of accountability here in Illinois. I mean, if you live in this state,
that's only because you are about to vote. So I think right now there might be. I'm to the FCC. I'm just going to call this BS.
Right.
So it's just news right now. It's just we have to hear them out. We got to see the records. We got to see who's donating their campaigns.
Oh, I have that right here in front of me. Actually.
You're wonderfully.
Okay, so in a recent article from the Chicago Tribune, well, it's actually from January 3rd, but it's talking about who's raised the most money to replace Lisa Madigan. As we all know, Lisa Madigan is the daughter of Mike Madigan, who's the Speaker of the House. And mind you, Rahm Emanuel and Michael Madigan were both mentioned at the forum. You could check it out again on our Facebook page.
There was that at the end. There was that point where all of them said, "Should Rahm Emanuel stay around?" And I think one guy
said
it was like kind of like waffly, but said no. But everyone else was like, "Emanuel needs to go."
Well, I guess he's not doing a good job, Daniel.
I think they actually at that point, like they did, almost all the leadership, almost everyone said all the leadership had to go,
and that there should be term limits, and that they all had to go. And another thing too, a brilliant question.
Thank you,
thank you real quick, because I almost forgot to bring this up. And it was a very important question, and I want all our listeners and viewers, subscribers, to understand where I'm coming from when I say this. A question was brought up: what mistakes did the Democratic Party make during the 2016 election, as well as what they're making now? And I think four of the candidates were really saying that the biggest mistake was when we refused to understand what's affecting working class people, and how the Democratic Party didn't really offer an alternative. They were saying that, well, yes, resist Trump, but what are we going to offer for working class families? You could say resist Trump, resist Trump, resist Trump as much as you want, but they were all saying, I think all of them on the stage, you need to have something else to make voters excited to vote for you. Remember, 40% of Americans are now identifying themselves as independents. And how are you going to get all these people to look at you and say, are you going to help me out the most? Because you could say, I'm not that person, but what issues are you going to bring up? And it's I think it's sometime later in our live stream. So check it out on our Facebook page, Harlan's Media. But I do want to bring into like who's been raising the most money to replace Lisa Madigan. So essentially right now you have Senator Ruiz. He has, at the end of the day, he started out with more than $406,000 in the bank, and at the end of September has added about $540,000 in donations. And mind you, this article came out January 3rd. Okay. Then there's Chicago Park District President Jesse Ruiz, who loaned his campaign $100,000 and contributed a few thousand more. And the records show he's raised about $475,000 so far. Then there's State Rep Scott Drury, who chipped in $170,000 to his bid and has collected $364,000 all total. Then there's former Governor Pat Quinn, started with money from his existing campaign fund, and in the last quarter of 2017, Quinn added about $81,000 to the $232,000 he already has. Then there's Sharon Fairly, the former head of Chicago's new police oversight, has given to her campaign $240,000 in loans and contributions. And then there's Northwest Side attorney Aaron Goldstein, who reported about $194,000 in contributions, most of that coming from $185,000 from his own pockets. And then we get to the Republicans, who have both kind of raised about Erica Harold raised about $116,000, and then the Republican establishment has collected about $250,000 so far. So
that's actually not a lot.
It's not compared to a lot of races so far. I mean, let's face it.
This is for states general, right?
Yeah,
Attorney General.
Yeah, Illinois State.
Wow,
this is an important seat.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, huh? Like, why is it not so much attention? Why is it all the Democratic machine not paying attention? Why is why is it not so much?
Well, I mean, I guess why would they? I don't know the full lineage of the Attorney General, but I'm pretty sure it's mostly Democrat.
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying
I was doing some research that mostly it has been Democrat, but I think the biggest mistake the Democratic Party can make is the same mistake they made in 2016, is assume that people are going to vote for you because you're not saying mean things like the other person.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's kind of what I was trying to say. I think both of them is working out just perfectly fine for them. I think maybe the new Attorney General is not going to try to change so much the laws or try to change the restriction, put any kind of placements or anything. Because right now we have Joe Barrio's his name is being thrown a lot. I mean, there's some people that there was one of the forums that I attended to, which was a private fund, specifically naming there possibly some criminal acts that have been taken as far as like you breaking a rule that they suggested to. It was a private fundraiser for the Attorney Generals. The question was, will you think about possibly putting some kind of prosecution to that if there's so many complaints after once it already becomes investigated? What exactly? None of them have an answer. You see what I'm saying? So it's like some of those things that you have to answer. It doesn't matter if you're not saying that you hate women or you hate from a shithole place or anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, that's a direct quote from our enforcers. So but that actually shouldn't be. So, anyways, it's some of these things that you see it as that it doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah. So I think on that end, it's where we're at. So I think part of why they don't have money in it yet, I think it's earlier in the campaign. You have a ton of people out there. There's going to be a natural climb and fall of who is popular, and I think that's going to have to play itself out because, I mean, combined, even if they're separate, that's still over like a little over $2 million combined for all of them so far.
I mean, that's nothing.
For other races, it's not a lot.
I think Bruce Rana has, 13 already?
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm sure for the Democratic Party, they have their money elsewhere. And the reason I was asking of how many seats have they how many times have they controlled the Attorney General? If there's it's all about where do we put the money that we have.
Also, our sub-judges and judges are also due for local selection, correct?
Yeah.
I think some of that, like 8 circuits are for a few of them. So, that's...
Yeah, and then plus, I believe also for the 2018 primary, and I believe even during the general as well, the question of cannabis legalization in our state will also be put on the ballot. So, I guess you already know where we're going to stand on the legalization of cannabis.
Yeah, I mean...
But it's important to note, Colorado has a budgetary surplus, and they voted on it to have it legal in their state. Now, we have the opportunity as well to have it legal in our state, and I'm hoping no matter who the Attorney General is, whether it's one of these 8 Democratic challengers or the Republican, whoever it is, to protect our state rights and acknowledge that the voters of Illinois, should they vote for to have it legal in our state, and then our House and Senate choose to legalize it as well, to protect the small businesses or large businesses that will be here, as well as protecting consumers so they can, not be at risk from federal law. Because Jeff Sessions is saying federal law will supersede states' rights. And it's basically the job of the Illinois State Attorney General to basically protect our state from any kind of intrusion from the federal government. So it doesn't matter whether you're independent, Democrat, or Republican. It's important to look into this race as well. So check out how we handled that race on Hard Lens Media. I mean, Daniel, I know you wanted to bring up a final note.
Yeah, so again, I think that's good. I think the best way to know what we're talking about is to watch this live stream and see exactly what they talked about and what was covered. I think going to the interviews we had, it was very much the same. I'm still kind of taken aback. It's like, we cover so much that is wrong and how much corruption there is in the city, and it felt like this was one of those few moments where, I feel a little better listening to these guys talk.
Or is it to quote my grandpa, I never thought I'd live to see that.
I mean, I was just going to chime in and say it's 2018. And you have how old is Jeff Sessions?
Jeff Sessions is a very old man.
So I'm not,
I don't know.
He wants to bring back DARE.
So I'm just saying, there you go. That's what I'm saying. Can we just put a RIP on there for Mr. Jeff Sessions? Just R.I.P.
I think is the best part about DARE is it increases drug use in kids.
I know that I was like, really? That's what marijuana does to you? It's complete bull.
No, it's like this is what cocaine, this is what black tar looks like. This is
So. You're like, well, no, thank you. How much should I be paying for that? Oh, you shouldn't be paying no more than $25, kids. Like, wow, your kids come out of school like full-on drug dealers. Like, all they got to do is just go purchase a scale.
Where did you learn? The police.
Yeah, DARE. My DARE officer.
I know we're having a lot of fun about this, but here's a little thing about DARE that no one really talks about. Okay, a little interesting side note about DARE. The people who usually were running DARE were either the screw-ups or people who just didn't care. About
no wonder why. Yes, that one makes perfect sense. Why, when I wasn't there, I became a full-on drug dealer. Like, I see that. I'm just joking, America.
But it's why they're always the angriest.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
It's like, because they
this reminds you. This kills your buzz, huh? Okay, you're probably just smoking a doobie outside. Came in here like, man, my job. Damn it.
I got to talk about this. There's actually a classic DARE propaganda video where like famous cartoon characters were in there helping this one guy get over his drug habit because he smoked a joint. Even Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles, who's probably the most likely Ninja Turtle to smoke cannabis, was telling him, "Don't do drugs, dude." It's I know we're kind of getting off topic.
No, we actually we're just talking about how we making a joke, but people, we have to listen to this. There's always a truth behind every joke. We're making fun of DARE, but we're making fun of the message that they have for marijuana, how it's classified.
Yeah.
As this what is it, Schedule 1 drug? Is it like it's classified as heroin, crack, and methamphetamine? Remind you, all this is deadly.
Put that weed down.
Yeah.
Take some Vicodin.
There you go.
And then we lead to the opioid crisis. It's happening here.
So it's not so much as a joke. So I kind of disagree with that. You can, I think that's how you should approach it as a joke, because it gives more to people sometimes when you tell them it's a joke. Like, you know what? You should possibly be showing some methamphetamine instead of smoking the marijuana joint. You probably you'd say that to me, I would look at you like you're insane.
The government says that it's much safer to use cocaine.
No, but not just Jeff Sessions. Yeah. He didn't get that memo.
Here's the way to think of it. any single hospital in the U.S. that has been around long enough has killed more people than cannabis has in its entire history.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Poor doctors, not their fault.
Yeah, the thing is like a lot of doctors now.
It's a joke to you.
a lot of doctors now are probably thinking.
What was I thinking?
What
was I thinking? Giving little Timmy a 750 ml Vicodin.
No. What
was I thinking?
What I meant to say was a lot of doctors now are kind of going on record saying that cannabis is really needed
to
help treat patients, especially with this opioid crisis that we're having here. So,
but then I want to chime in on this, kid. I'm from Chicago, so it's like when you buy marijuana, is still illegal. So I endorse marijuana. So I have to risk myself to go buy some of this. So it's some of this. It's ridiculous. Come on, you could already be having this for you. There'll be no problem.
What does Rush Limbaugh say? He buys it every year just to test the dosage.
Right. And
it's just
not Rush Limbaugh.
It just is ridiculous. The other guy. It's ridiculous. 2018, and we're talking about how we're going to be prosecuted for. Listen to this: a class is Schedule 1 drug. Marijuana.
I'm going to take that a step further. In 2018, we're talking about the warm feeling we have inside us of attorney generals going, hey, maybe this isn't such a bad idea.
And protecting us from federal intrusion. So to all of our listeners, if you want to check out that live stream, like I said before, check it out on our Heartlands Media Facebook page. And be able to see, we interviewed 4 out of the 8 candidates as well. That's on our YouTube channel as well and on our Facebook page.
You're watching Hard Lens Media.